Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. Today we're going to be going over Fright Night #1 to continue our holiday Halloween fest and keep on with the creepy and the frightening and the scary. But before we get into that, I'd like to show you some of my own work, which is Random Access. It's a full-size, sometimes full color, going back to full color, but for right now it's black and white. Full-size, 12-page comic that I put out every month with backup stories by Christopher Knox and Paul Corjon. And it's Random Access is 3 rotating stories. One is Cyrene the Cleric, and one is Queller, and then the other one is sometimes it's Simborg, sometimes it's Death Knights. It's all kinds of different stuff. And you can get these at Patreon /Alexander Turbin, or you can go to my website where you can also find Mutandis and the Forlorn and all kinds of other stuff, and Cyrene and Queller and everything. And my website is alexanderturbin.com, and you can just message me at alexturbin04401 at yahoo.com, which is my email, or you could send a message at alexturbin04401 at instagram.com. Wait, is there a .com on Instagram? Anyway, let's get into Fright Night. So I was watching Fright Night, the movie, last night, and I noticed that I had the comic, the #1 comic from Now, and I decided that since I'm going to be doing this 3 reviews a week kind of thing, I'll start today. Next week it's going to be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and barring some sort of happenstance, like me being sick or whatever, family stuff, then I'm going to be doing 3 a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So hopefully you'll get plenty of your weird comic book reviews going on. And if anyone likes Fright Night, the movie and or comic, and has picked up more of them and watched more of them, let me know. I only have this one, and I read it, and I don't think I read it back in the day because I was not a Fright Night fan. I really am not a Fright Night fan. When it first came out, I used to read like Fangoria and stuff a lot whenever I could, and I really enjoyed that kind of stuff. And Fright Night, I kind of wanted to really like it. I think I was my age bracket. I think I was junior high or something like that when it came out, so it was kind of like that. But I've been thinking about it really quite a bit, and I think I realized what the problem with Fright Night really truly is, and that is it has no identity. It doesn't really know what it is. It's not a horror, scary kind of vampire-y thing. It's not scary at all, really. It's not a teenage story, coming of age story either, because it doesn't have any of those tropes of nothing happening, like to garner that kind of stereotype or whatever, where, losing virginity and all that stuff. It's got all kinds of these different things thrown in, and none of them really land. So it really does not know what it is and doesn't really have an identity. If it had gone the Porky's route or whatever and just been a teen sex movie, that would have been one thing. If they had thrown some gore in, that would have been another thing. And it doesn't really want to be a comedy either, because they don't try to be funny. The main vampire villain actually is a comedian, to me anyway. I mean, he's the lead bad guy in The Princess Bride, and he's very funny. So he's actually, I kind of want to try to think he's funny in this, but he doesn't really try to be funny. It's a very serious role. And the whole thing just is a mishmash, for me anyway, of everything that it wants to be, but isn't. Like, maybe it's trying to be this really innocent coming of age horror movie that has no real horror in it. That could be, but anyway, let's get into the comic, because this is it's actually a pretty good adaptation of the movie. Like I said, I just watched the movie last night, and so it's really pretty. It goes with the movie pretty good. It's pretty well adapted. It's written by Joe Gentle, penciled by Lennon Del Sol, inked by Jeff D., lettered by Kurt Hathaway, and colored by Nanette Injeski. The biggest thing here is I love the colors. The colors are probably my favorite part of this. And I remember Now and Comico, they all have really great coloring and colorists and stuff like that. I think that they're really trying to break into the newsstand market and really break into that DC and Marvel category that they had. And that's where I probably got this. That's where the only place I got Now Comics and Comic Book Comics was from the newsstand, which was really kind of a great thing to be able to get stuff that wasn't just Marvel and DC, because I always like, as you've seen by my reviews, lots of different stuff. But let's get into the story. It basically, it follows the same plot and the same thing as the movie. It's two teenagers. They're making out. They're gonna have sex, but she doesn't really want to. She's not ready. But the TV's going on, and it's this horror movie. It's supposed to be like a Vincent Price kind of ripoff thing. It would have been great if they'd actually had Vincent Price in there instead. But it's actually the guy that was played. I can't remember what his name was, but he played in Planet of the Apes. I can't remember what his name was again. He sees his next door neighbors, and they have a coffin, and but she's incredulous. She doesn't believe him or anything, and she's just like still wrapped up in whether or not they're going to have sex or not. And they kind of have an argument. It's drawn out in the movie. It's really great that it only lasts one page in the comic, because it doesn't really need anything more than that. But it really, in the comic, it really glazes over a lot of parts. Like, you're just introduced to Evil, his friend. I would say best friend, but they kind of are not really too nice to each other. And they have a whole dialogue in the movie and back and forth. And he says, "Don't call me Evil." And there's this whole thing going on. And then where he's talking about the what he thinks about the vampire and his girlfriend and all that stuff. And then there's a prostitute that goes to the residence of the vampire, and it's at night, and she screams, and the main character, I can't remember his name, not Peter Vincent, Charlie. So Charlie's up in his room, and he hears a scream. So that's when he starts really thinking that it may be a vampire, because he does see them carrying the coffin, and he does hear the scream, and we don't see the prostitute again. So he's having lunch with his two friends, or his girlfriend and his friend Evil. So I guess they are kind of best friends. They're just kind of antagonistic towards each other, which a lot of best friends are. But Charlie's just looking at the TV because this prostitute has been missing, I guess. And so the girlfriend gets mad and throws a pie in his face or something, and Evil laughs and everything like that. So Charlie is in bed, or in his room, and he's fallen asleep, but he's kind of keeping tabs on his neighbor, and he uses these binoculars to keep track of what's going on next door. And he finally sees the vampire. I don't know if this is supposed to be another prostitute or just some woman he picks up, and then he kills her and closes the shades. So, I mean, he keeps his window open. It's almost like he's inviting Charlie to come over and snoop around, which he does. He goes outside, and he sees the two workers, or the one worker, and he's putting the body in a van or truck or whatever. And the vampire is like, "Here, take this. It's the purse of the victim, I guess." And then so Charlie's mom kind of steps in and says, "Hey, Charlie." So the vampire and his helper, they recognize him, and they see what's happening, and they're on to Charlie and his snooping. And so Charlie decides to do something about it. He tells his mom, but she doesn't believe him. So he goes to the cops, and the cops, he brings the cops to the vampire's house, and they go through this whole rigmarole where Charlie's trying to convince them to look around. But once he lets out that he thinks that he's a vampire, the two cops just don't take him seriously at all, and they're like, "We're very sorry. This is a horrible mistake, and I'm very sorry." So, and then in the movie, he then talks to Evil about all of the different aspects of being a vampire and what their weaknesses are and how to protect yourself. And so Evil just goes into this whole diatribe about what to do. But in the comic book, it's just like this montage of Evil supposedly saying all of this stuff that they had in this conversation. So then they end up going to the vampires. Oh no, the vampire comes to Charlie's house, and who was invited in by the mother. So that was one of the things that Evil had said, was that vampires can't come into your house unless they're invited. So unfortunately, the mother invites him in, and the vampire kind of threatens Charlie a little bit, and he visits him, um, or he visits the mother in the house later that night. The mother's sleeping, and he sneaks into Charlie's room, and they kind of get into a tussle and into a fight. And he's like, I could kill your mother, I could kill you, but all I want is to for you to forget me, and I'll forget you, and I'll do my thing, and you do your thing, and just forget the whole thing, which is very forgiving and nice of this vampire, which is very cool. And then Charlie, like an idiot, I mean, if you're confronted with a vampire, he's going to kill you, then you just say, yes, fine, I'll forget it. And then you don't, you lie, and then you go and do whatever. But no, Charlie's a pure soul. He says, no, I'm not going to forget it or anything. He tries to mess him up with the vampire up with the crucifix, which doesn't work because I guess he doesn't have faith, because that was one of the evil's big things, was the crucifix only works if you have faith. So the vampire is throwing Charlie around, and Charlie stabs him with a pencil, and the vampire just kind of gets all pissed off, and the mother wakes up, and so the vampire takes off, and he's like, I'll come get you another time. We'll finish this another time. And Charlie's like, I'm looking forward to it. So he's very brave against this whole vampire thing. So that's when Charlie decides to go to the TV studio where his idol, Vincent Price, or the Vincent Price, it's something Vincent. It's supposed to be Vincent Price anyway. Where he's trying to get Vincent Price to help him kill his neighbor because he's a vampire. Vincent Price has said that he believes in vampires, and he'll do anything to help anybody that needs help against vampires. But the actor's like, I lied. I'm not going to help you. So it just goes to Charlie whittling steaks. I don't know why he has all these candles lit in his room. That makes no sense. Like, just turn the lights on. But anyway, then it goes to Vincent Price's house, and Charlie's girlfriend and friend Evil. They're there to try to get Mr. Price to help dispel this theory that Charlie has that the neighbor is a vampire, and he's not going to. He's like, doesn't want to have anything to do with it. But then the girlfriend offers him $500, and he's like, fine, I'll do it. So then they call up the supposed vampire, and they try to set this whole ruse up where he's going to drink some holy water, some blessed holy water, and try to dispel this thing. And they're like, oh, it won't even be holy water, just be regular water. And finally the vampire's like, yeah, that's great, I'm fine. So they all go over to the vampire's house, and they introduce themselves and stuff. And the Charlie's girlfriend is automatically and instinctively smitten with the vampire because he's very good looking. I mean, he's the Princess Bride's bad guy. Of course he's good looking. So then he kisses her hand, and they have this whole kind of thing going on where it's like a love thing. And then he swallows some supposed holy water, but Charlie doesn't believe that's really holy water. And Vincent Price is like, you think I'm lying, young man? And so he just is going to go off in a huff and stuff. But then the vampire and Charlie's girlfriend and Evil are talking, and Mr. Price holds up his cigarette case, which has a mirror in it, but the vampire isn't showing it. And so Charlie figures out that Vincent Price knows something's up, and he's like, what's going on? And he's like, all right, Mr. Dandridge, which is Charlie's last name, vampires have no reflection. And so that's pretty much him telling him that he is a vampire. He believes him. And there you go from there. The vampire and his helper realize that they've made a mistake, and that the old man, Vincent Price, really does think that he's a vampire, and that he's, going to be mixed up in this whole thing. So they have to figure out some plans like that. He sees a little broken piece of the mirror that was in the case. I don't know if he snapped it real hard or crashed. No, he drops it. He dropped his case. So there was some of that mirror, and they just realized that now he believes them. Vincent Price believes them that he's a vampire, and so they have to do something about it. Later on, Charlie and the girlfriend are Evil, and Evil, the character, are walking home. Evil says he's going to go into, going to take a shortcut down an alleyway, and they don't like it. And so he screams. he's making fun of Charlie and the girlfriend for believing in vampires, and he's like, "Oh, you're such a sucker." But then Evil kind of goes off on his own, and he goes down. I don't know if he goes down another alleyway or he's just going down the street or whatever. And the vampire has followed him, and he's gonna either go kill Evil or turn him into a vampire, which I think he wants to turn him into a vampire. And so he's like, "Take my hand. No one will ever make fun of you again." So he's kind of playing up this whole you're ostracized and people make fun of you and stuff like that. And so he yells, "Please!" I don't. Yeah, he yells, "Please!" And Charlie and the girlfriend, they just think that it's another made up thing, and that is how it ends. There's even no to be continued or anything like that. So that's how issue number 1 ends of Fright Night. And then there's a short story. It does have something to do with it because they have Peter Vincent, which is really their Vincent Price character in here, is on the TV, and I didn't really read this, and I'm not going to really go into it at all because it must just have something to do with the vampire and something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm not really going to get into that because we're all about the original story here of Fright Night, and so that's how it ends. I'm probably not going to get the issue number 2 or further because I think what happened was they adapted the first movie. I don't know if there's a second movie. If there's a second movie, somebody out there let me know. But I think they adapt the movie in 3 or 4 issues and then go on. And I think they have Fright Night series because I think I saw like an 8 or 9 on eBay because I was looking up the issues, the later issues and this issue and stuff and seeing how much it was worth. Actually, that's what I should do. I should tell you guys how much these are worth when I'm reviewing them. Not that will have any kind of effect on my review, but it kind of is an interesting thing. So I'm going to start doing that. Yeah, that's what I'm going to start doing. So I found this for anywhere from $4 to $7 to $24. I think there might be some people out there that would like it. So on eBay, it's pretty fluctuating on the prices. So I saw a high of $24 and a low of like $4. So you could probably get a pretty decent copy pretty cheaply. So as far as the writing is it's almost exactly like the movie. They take pieces and parts directly from the movie, so it's really hard to say if it's good written, well written. I'm going to say that it is, just because it goes. They adapt it very well. They don't. They cut corners. They cut the pieces that really don't need to be there. Like if a scene is 10 minutes long and it really only needed to be 5 minutes long, and that is what would have been in the page, that's what they do. And that's really kind of what they really need to do in a good adaptation, especially if it's a shorter one. They show the prostitute. They hit all of the landmarks, all of the hot spots and things that you really know to keep the plot going and to understand what's going on in the story. And it keeps going, so it's very well adapted to the comic, is adapted well to the movie, and they really do a great job with the writing. And as far as, like I say, the personality and the dialogue and everything, that really it's from the movie, so it's hard to say whether it's greatly written or badly written or whatever. I think it's pretty decently done though. So as far as the art by Lennon DeSalle and Jeff D, it's really pretty good. It's a little bit of a little cartoony, which there's nothing wrong with that. I love some cartoony, which is kind of what the movie suffers from. It doesn't really have an identity. It's not really a cartoony style. It's a cross between a cartoony style and a kind of a more of an old style. So yeah, I mean, I've got nothing wrong with the art. It's pretty good. I'm going to cut this short because my voice is starting to go. I'm still suffering from a sore throat and stuff. So, and coughs and all that stuff. So I'm going to give Fright Night a 7. It's basically an okay done adaptation. Doesn't make me want to get any more Fright Nights at all, but that probably has to do more with the content than it does the artistry. And adaptations are always difficult anyway because I've never been a huge fan of adaptations. Let me know if you guys are. So I don't know. It could just be my own perception of the comic and why I'm not really into it. One thing I am going to say before my throat completely goes off is that I truly love the coloring of this. One of the big things of now in Comico is the coloring, I believe I said earlier. And this Nanette Injetsky, she's using some really fantastic blues and purples and teals when she could have just gone straight colors. I mean, she does this great nighttime scene, and it's night and the TV's going, it's got this glow, so it's really fantastically colored. It's almost painted. It's like a watercolor paintingly style. If I had to say she used watercolors, I'm not entirely sure, but it could have been the watercolors. But it's got such great texture, and she's got such a great grasp of lighting and all of that it's really fantastic. And I love the coloring. I would probably like to see some of her own work. Maybe I'll look her up and see if she did any other comics. But it's really, really great, really fantastic coloring, and that's probably my biggest takeaway from the book is that I really love the coloring. And the inking is really good. The inking is really loose, and it does harken back a little bit to 50s type horror stuff. Horror comics, EC, stuff like that. There's a whole lot of panels. Maybe that's one of my problems with the book is that there's too many panels. But doing an adaptation like that, I guess you have to have a lot of panels. So yeah, but as you guys know, my criteria for getting over a 7 is that am I going to go look for another copy? I'm not. I'm not going to try to find Fright Night number 2 or Fright Night whatever. So even if I see one in the dollar bin, I'm not gonna pick it up. All right, maybe. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't even spend $1 on the Fright Night 2 or 3 or whatever. I'm not interested. Maybe if I enjoyed the movie more, then I would be into it. But I really didn't enjoy the movie. It was kind of a big letdown for me because I was kind of looking forward to it when I was younger, for a cool horror movie. But it was a big letdown. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you think if I was too harsh on this or if I wasn't harsh enough. And if you love Fright Night, maybe you love Fright Night and you think it's a great B movie or whatever. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you guys later. Keep on creating.